When you get started in creativity, you have to accept the fact that 9 times out of 10, you are going to be doing everything 100% by yourself when you get started, and even when you get into those more experienced years. To this day, there are still some very popular creators out there who do the majority of the work by themselves, from the writing to the shooting to the post-production editing, all of their audio editing, the music selection, every aspect of it, they're still doing on their own. So it is important to figure out what is it that you want to accomplish in your creative world. Because like I said, you're gonna do a lot of stuff by yourself. So you have to determine what skills do you need to improve on? What do you want to see change, improve, or be different in the work that you've already done? What type of investment of time and finances do you want to invest in to the projects that you are working on? What is going to work best for you and give you the opportunity that you are seeking as a creator? Let's focus more on the financial investment side when it comes to creativity. The season that I'm in right now involves figuring out what resources do I already have, software and hardware and investment of time and finances that I'm in right now. What needs improvement? What needs updates? What needs upgrades? Versus what can I continue to just still use and not have to worry about upgrading it right this moment. Now, not too long ago, I had to make the hard choice to go back to using Final Cut Pro, Apple's editing software, for a little bit while working on some financial aspects that took away from me having the Adobe subscription for using their software, Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, that was hard for me to do because all of Adobe software is what I'm used to using. Every workplace that I've worked in production-wise has used stuff like Adobe Premiere, Adobe Audition, Adobe Lightroom, all of the Adobe Creative software suite. That being said, Adobe Premiere Pro though is not where I started. I started off using Sony Vegas Pro when it came time to move away from Windows Movie Maker to get into true production editing. After using Sony Vegas Pro, I then moved on to using Apple's Final Cut Pro when I finally started moving into understanding a Mac and how those worked. Trust me, that took some work because I went from using Windows to Apple computers, and it took a little bit of time to learn how to use both together in a consistent way. Now, obviously, what software I've been using has been affected by some financials. Every aspect of creativity is, because what you can use and where you go with it is truly affected by where you are at in a financial state. Side note, I have recently gone back to using Adobe Premiere Pro, but when I started working on this video, that wasn't an option that I had. Moving on to hardware. You can get started pretty easily now when it comes to creativity, especially if it is in the video focus, just by simply using your phone. Today, almost all of your phones have good cameras on them. The majority of your iPhones, especially newer generations, and even most of your Androids have really good cameras built into them. So unless you're going back to the really old Motorola Razr flip phones, you don't really have an excuse. It should also be noted that the majority of these phones have fairly decent microphones built into them. One, because phones are for phone calls more than anything else, even though they have become so much more. Secondly, because you have nice cameras on them, they typically are going to need nice microphones to at least have somewhat decent audio on your production. Now, there comes a time when you are going to want better hardware for the things that you're working on. Everyone hits that time, and they hit it more than once, because as everything evolves in the technology realm in every aspect of life, you want the biggest, you want the greatest, you want the most powerful, you want what works best for you. So like I said, starting with your phone, creating original content that can be built into your portfolio, that's a great option, but at some point when it comes to doing professional gigs, doing professional productions, you are going to want more. The hard part is that costs money. So as I've said previously in other videos, you have to be able to plan for the financial aspect of investing in something better. So that means maybe whatever job you're working, you set aside whatever money you can to invest in that first piece of important hardware. Or maybe you go the route of, if this is what you want to do professionally long-term, being able to take out a small loan to get you the initial equipment to be able to move forward with what you want to do. But I don't recommend doing that until you have some form of portfolio, because it's really hard to convince someone to pay you for the work if they can't see that you're capable of doing the work to begin with. And when you get a loan, if you're not getting some sort of income that's going to be able to make those payments on that loan, it's just going to send you into the turmoil of going into debt, not being able to afford the payments, having the bank come after you, and all of those other chaotic aspects. So the question of the video was this: how hard is it to become creative by yourself? And the truth is, it really depends on what you decide to pursue in your creativeness and how you decide to pursue it. At one point, it did feel near impossible to do. But now with modern technology, not only on the hardware side, but the software side as well, you can truly accomplish just about anything in what you want to do for your creative aspects. Yes, it can be difficult to get started initially, but it is not impossible to do anymore. I may have used video work as an example of the creative world in which you can enter into, but like I said before, there's so much more to it. There's music, photography, graphic design, film, game design. There is so much for you to choose from, and don't be afraid to experiment in multiple areas. Maybe you think that video work could be the place for you, but you discover you don't like it, you don't agree with it. It's just not what is for you. You can go and experiment with music and find out that music is amazing. It's what you love, the area you love to be in. Don't be afraid to try multiple areas of the creative universe. Once you figure out what works best for you, don't be in a rush to become perfect right away. The fact is, we will never become perfect. Start with where you're able to start. Learn from the failures and mistakes that you make along the way to make changes to help you grow and proceed into a better version of the work that you do later on. Never let the feeling of it being hard keep you from trying, keep you from proceeding, keep you from being successful in the area that you pursue. Start where you can and do the research that you need to do to know the steps that you need to take in order to become successful in the areas that you want to succeed in. Push hard, work hard, and push back against the resistance that you will face, not only internally of yourself, but of others who just don't believe in you. Take the actions to become successful, fight the fight, make your dreams come true, and be proud of yourself.